Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us today for unlocking the new supply chain opportunities across the West Midlands webinar. My name is Dimitrios Anagnostakis, and I'm a supply chain specialist with the Supply Chain Transition Program. So today's webinar will explore how modern methods of construction, low carbon, and other green industries are creating new opportunities for businesses across the West Midlands supply chain. We'll be discussing where opportunities are emerging, what buyers are looking for, and how businesses can position themselves to benefit from these growing markets. Before we begin, I would like to run through a few housekeeping points. So firstly, today's webinar is being recorded and will be shared with all attendees after the event. All attendees are muted to ensure the best possible audio quality. If you have any questions throughout the session, please submit them using the chat function. We'll aim to answer as many questions as possible during the Q&A session towards the end of this webinar. If you experience any technical difficulties, please try refreshing your browser and rejoining the session. Any presentation materials and additional resources will be shared after the webinar where applicable. By participating in this webinar, you acknowledge that it is being recorded, and we kindly ask that you refrain from sharing any confidential or commercially sensitive information in the chat. So thank you, and we hope you enjoy today's session. So before we hear from our speakers, I would like to briefly introduce the Supply Chain Transition Program. So the Supply Chain Transition Program is a business support program, basically delivered on behalf of West Midlands Combined Authority and funded through the West Midlands Investment Zone Fund. And a little bit around this funding route, specifically, the West Midlands Investment Zone is the region's long-term economic growth program for manufacturing in the region. As an umbrella program, it brings together investment, innovation, skills, business support to strengthen manufacturing in the region. The Supply Chain Transition Program is the business support element within that, helping manufacturing SMEs innovate, diversify, and access new market opportunities. Together, these activities aim to attract investment, create new jobs, and grow the West Midlands economy. So the main purpose for the Supply Chain Transition Program is to help manufacturing businesses diversify, win new orders in the region's manufacturing growing clusters and associated supply chains. We've got these 5+1 primary clusters: aerospace, light electric vehicles and battery manufacturing, modern low carbon construction and other green industries, health tech, medtech, and smart energy systems, as well as digital capabilities, underpinning digital capabilities. So within each of these markets and clusters, if the businesses need some support into adopting digital solutions, upgrading their systems, having a better visibility, then our consortium and the program will be able to help them. So the program is delivered by the Supply Smarter West Midlands Consortium, which is a very strong consortium led by C&W Business Solutions. And then we've got 5 other partners that deliver the actual technical support and advice to the businesses. We've got WMG, Warwick Manufacturing Group from the University of Warwick, the MTC Manufacturing Technology Centre, and then Birmingham City University, Coventry University, and the University of Wolverhampton. So the support available through this program is offered through a series of activities. Overall, the journey of the businesses will start with a review audit of existing capacity and capabilities, understanding where the business sits for now and where they want to go in the future, then we'll link each of the businesses with one of the partners relevant to the markets that they want to explore and the support that they need to receive. And these partners will provide the intensive technical support, up to 30 hours fully funded. Intensive support for the businesses is available through this program. On top of that, we've got an R&D grant pot, 1.5 million for every year of the program. Businesses can apply for that within a range of between 20K and up to 200K for carrying out R&D projects. And just to clarify, this is not academic R&D. However, it's practical projects that can be set up between the business and the partners aligned with the business needs, tailored to whatever the markets will require for the future suppliers and the businesses. So again, this is an element in the program support through supply chain transition. And finally, leadership and management training. We've got different courses covering similar areas around leadership and management, helping businesses to upskill their staff that will take over responsibilities and duties with regards to leading teams, managing people, and planning the strategy for these transition journeys for the businesses. We've got, eligibility criteria for businesses to be eligible for the program. They need to be small or medium in size, need to be manufacturing, and having their facilities within the West Midlands Combined Authority, one of the 7 local authorities, or the Warwick district. So this is the geography of the West Midlands investment zone. Alternative businesses just outside this geography, if they can justify and prove significant activity within the region, then this might be an avenue for them to to be eligible into the program. And final thing is around the key customers. So large OEMs, tier 1 manufacturers will be involved at all stages within the duration of this project. They will be providing information and insight around their key technical challenges. So this can be the focus on collaborative R&D between different the sides between key customers and the manufacturing businesses. They will articulate the needs at a sector or business level. They will specify what skills, accreditations will be needed in the future by the suppliers. They will inform as well around expectations, the culture required to meet future supply needs. Additionally, they will be providing information and insights through engagement workshops or other events by attending these events or by delivering talks and having speakers into these events. Finally, they will have another active role into the steering of the program through the program steering group of our program. So yeah, I think that's it. Please, for anyone that is interested into the program, please do get in touch through our email, supplychains@cwgrowthhub.co.uk, or scan this QR code. This will take you to programs landing page, and within that you will find a link for the expression of interest form. So please do fill out these forms, and we'll pick this up and get back to you going further detail around the program. So now I'll stop that. Okay, thanks, Kat. Yeah, now I'm delighted to be joined by 2 expert speakers today. So firstly, we have Mike Leonard from Birmingham City University, who will share insight into the modern and low carbon construction landscape, emerging opportunities and future market trends. Joining Mike is Nick Brandgood from the Manufacturing Technology Center, who will be providing additional perspective on innovation, technology adoption, supply chain opportunities within the sector. Together, they will provide an overview of where this cluster is heading and what it means for manufacturers and SMEs across the West Midlands. Mike and Nick, thank you both for joining us today. Mike, if you could please, you're off camera, and off mic, then I'll hand over to you.
Yes. Okay, can you hear and see me now?
Yep.
Yeah, brilliant. And can you yeah. So just give me 1 second so I can get back into my slides so I can see my slides. So I come off that. Do that. Stop sharing for a second. Share again. Right, lovely. Good. Hopefully you can see my slides now.
Yes, we can. Thank you.
Perfect. Okay, lovely. Thanks very much. Well, thank you to my training transition team, to Kat and to Dimitris for this opportunity. What I'm going to try and do is just take you through some of the context, I guess, around the built environment at the moment. So I'm a visiting professor at Birmingham City University, responsible for manufacturing and construction, and I currently co-lead the Centre for Future Homes. So we can make that slide go forward. Okay. So good. So the Centre for Future Homes is a primary research centre based in Birmingham City University, where we look at everything to do with this transition to climate change, both in new build and retrofit within housing, but also importantly in terms of the building safety elements of it as well. So so very, very keen to make sure that the building safety is built into the agenda, given that the tragedy of Grenfell, which happened on our watch, of course, was in fact a retrofit project. So it's a building that we intervened in for climatic change reasons and to improve the aesthetics arguably as well, but actually managed to kill 72 people as a result and cause huge amounts of uncertainty and unrest amongst the public. So what we do at the Centre for Future Homes really is, first and foremost, we put the customer first. And I think it's incredibly important as we talk about transition, everything is that everything we do is focused around customers and customers' demands and market demand, therefore, not inventing products that we then try and find a market for, if that makes sense. So we put customer first at part of the agenda. It's about evidence, so having an evidence-based decision-making framework based on data and insights. So I'll talk a little bit about how we've managed that process, and importantly, avoiding those unintended consequences like Grenfell fire, like the recent Eco4 investigation into external wall cladding, where we had a 98% failure as part of that process. Those are unacceptable levels of failure, both in Grenfell to life safety, but in Eco4 to building performance, and they reflect very, very badly on our industry. So we have to get those things right. And finally, resilience. So we are facing a different climate, and those of you suffering today with the heat, and it's really going to have 10 days of this heat, I believe, this run, will recognise what I'm talking about. Overheating becoming a bigger problem than underheating potentially. Okay. Can I just check that you can see the Future Home Standard slide now? It's not showing on my screen. Dimitris, can you just confirm that you can see the Future Home Standard slide?
I can see it, Mike.
Yes.
Yeah, perfect. I just want to make sure they're going forward because it's not clear on my screen. So thank you. So Future Home Standard is the methodology that government has set out, a programme now to transition new built homes to make them net zero ready. And when I net zero ready, the bit that we can't control at the moment is the grid. So unless the grid becomes purely carbon neutral, then we can't say we've got completely net zero homes. But that's getting it ready is important. It requires a 75 to 80% reduction in carbon emissions. It's based on an improved building fabric, but not a radical improvement. Heating systems that are non-electric, non-gas, should I say, non-fossil fuels, are based on electricity. Improved ventilation, because wherever you start to make buildings more airtight, you must compensate that with ventilation. And some mitigation for overheating, and of course, the inclusion of electric charging points. That will come into fruition from spring 2028. Why the delay? To some extent because of the economy at the moment. So government has recognised that adding sort of about 15% of the cost of new homes in a market where currently we're not selling enough new homes. We're probably deliver around about 150,000 homes this year. Remember that target of 1.5 million from the government. So we're well behind expectations, and that's market demand fueled principally by affordability crisis amongst first-time buyers. So that's the Future Home Standard that's coming. We've been doing a lot of work in understanding that Future Home Standard. Go back to 2019 when we first worked with Midland Art to build a development out to the Future Home Standard in Handsworth area of Birmingham, for those of you who know it. And those are social homes that were then now being lived in for a few years. And throughout that process, throughout the design, the build, the handover, commissioning handover of those products, and through the live phase of it, we've been working with the residents in this instance to understand how it actually translates to reality. So it's been a really interesting project. There's lots of data, lots of insights, and that was probably the most influential piece of evidence, real evidence, that we were able to hand over to policymakers ahead of the Future Home Standard being finalised. So we had a big influence on the outcome. Similarly, we are working still with a company called Keepmoat, site in Nottingham, and these were more for the private sector. So Project 80 was about the social sector. This is about private sector, both owner-occupied and private rented, but delivering very similar things. So start to understand more about the process. So one of the things I want to try and sort of suggest to you is that we focus on things that are really changing. So I mentioned fabric. Everybody gets obsessed with fabric and says that we need to change it. In fact, the homes that we built at both Project 80 and Keepmoat were constructed using masonry construction. So a safe, resilient method of construction that is tried and tested and available from local suppliers. So, for instance, on the Keepmoat project, the bricks travelled 6 miles and the blocks 18 miles. So this is all adding it to social value, social impact. So there's not a big change in the fabric in the Future Home Standard. Slightly thicker walls, 150mm wide, but other than that, nothing else. The things that are changing, and the things where perhaps the technology transition fund can help with, are things like heating and ventilation, hot water storage, PV now. PV is going to come onto all of our houses as standard with the Future Home Standard. So up to 40% of the ground floor area of any house will be covered in PV. Batteries, because batteries work well with PV to store that energy for when it's needed. EV charging, and then very, very importantly, how we work with the occupier. So we found profound differences between homes built to exactly the same standard, next to the same design, in the outcome of that. That's because how people choose to live in their properties and understand how to operate their properties most effectively. So occupier engagement is critical. Grid constraints. With the call for overheating now, and sort of the climate change committee saying, well, maybe air conditioning is the solution. Yes, it is, but it is a solution, but it's very expensive, and it will, at the moment, put further strain on the grid. But there's no doubt in my mind that we've got to do things to reduce the impact of overheating, because it's actually a bigger threat than underheating to life safety, particularly with older people. Emerging threats. So there's a lot of stuff around this. I've um, spoken at length to conferences of police officers involved in secure by design, because opposite this change that's going on is a new opportunity for those people who like stealing things from us. And so PV panels, batteries, heat pumps, cables, substation, copper, etc., are all becoming the target of thieves now. So there's an opportunity there in terms of thinking about what we can do to prevent that. And then obviously linked to all of this is skills, because there's an important part to that. There's also a really important thing I want us to consider is and this is at the heart of, I think, the transition fund, is to make sure that we maintain a manufacturing base in the UK. Unfortunately, a lot of the products I've alluded to there, PV batteries, are all, and heat pumps even, are all coming from the Far East now in huge quantities and saturating our markets. Somehow that doesn't fit well for me in terms of climate change. That we're shipping things halfway across the world. Why can't we make things here? Why can't we do things? Why can't we take some of the brilliant minds we have in terms of developing new products and keep the manufacturing in the UK? So that's a challenge to everything we're thinking about. What can we do? It's a big market that's emerging, but there's this tendency to say, "Oh yeah, that doesn't matter." When it becomes a volume product, then we'll buy it from somewhere else, and that's threatens our economic security. And we've seen the dangers of war, etc., around us, unfortunately, too clearly. But also, it's about social inclusion. It's about, we've got high levels of youth unemployment in the UK. We must try and connect up the massive amount of investment that's going to go into the built environment. The Prime Minister in waiting is talking about a major social housing programme again. All of those things, we should be doing that using locally produced goods. And that fuels economic growth, but also makes that development sustainable. Linked to just not new homes, but is the retrofitting of 26 million of our existing housing stock. And I should say that we don't get anywhere near our climate change targets by just dealing with new build. The trick is that we've got to get into improving our existing housing stock, and there's £15 billion planned from the government to help do that. A huge chunk of that being deployed into the West Midlands. I only expect those sort of numbers to increase, and so there's lots of opportunities around this to make sure that we get the right kit, diagnose buildings correctly, install it correctly, commission it, maintain it as well, and take it forward. And then finally, just finish up. I just wanted to talk about that piece I mentioned earlier, which is resilience. Our climate is significantly changing. Yeah. So we are going to see severe weather events, big storms, certainly droughts, floods. Some of these things compete with each other, but they happen in equal regard. And even wildfires. And we've seen just in the last few days now wildfires across France, States, and other areas. But they've happened in the UK as well, and will continue to increase their occurrence. So what I've tried to do today is just talk to you about where things, as we see it, are going, where the opportunities lie, the importance of putting the customer at the heart of your thought process and design process, and making sure that whatever we do is both socially and economically inclusive and resilient. Thank you. Thanks so much.
Perfect. Thanks a lot, Mike. That's an excellent overview, an insight around the opportunities and the future built environment, modern construction. So thank you very much for all of that. We'll now hear from Nick Brandwood from the Manufacturing Technology Centre, who will build on some of those themes and explore how innovation, technology, and manufacturing capabilities are helping businesses access opportunities within these growing areas. Nick, over to you.
Okay, thanks, Dimitrios. Okay, I'll just share my screen. just whilst I'm doing that, thanks for joining us today over your lunch times. It is much appreciated. Let's see, share that. Okay.
Perfect.
Right. Okay. Fantastic. Okay. Good afternoon, everybody. My name's Nick Bramwood. I'm one of the business advisors for the MTC, the Manufacturing Technology Centre, based in Coventry. As it says in the corner, it sounds more exciting than it is, but we are a high-value manufacturing catapult, which means we support manufacturing companies of all sizes, small, medium, and large, in accelerating and catapulting their growth. I suppose we do that through a number of ways. It's primarily about the identification and the adoption of best practice, and that can be sort of manufacturing operational excellence, or more in terms of the core skills of MTC. It's about adopting appropriate digital technologies and automation, all about really so that supporting companies in taking opportunities and accelerating how quick it is before they make profit out of that opportunity. And I suppose the opportunity we're talking about today and how MTC is supporting is around modern methods of construction as part of the West Midlands supply chain program. So just a little agenda I've put together for today, primarily around how MTC can support companies in I suppose identifying the challenges of entering new markets and turning those challenges into opportunities. Again, really how MTC can accelerate or catapult market penetration into those new markets. There's a number of ways in which MTC help. First of all, I suppose three elements: we support in technology, we support in skills, and we support in process development. So everything I speak about today will have one of those three elements to it. I suppose the opportunity really is that I assume we're talking to quite a few manufacturing companies today who primarily operate in markets such as automotive, aerospace, rail, that kind of thing. And there's always a methodology and a manufacturing process associated with all of those. And I think the point and the major opportunity for manufacturing companies at the building sector has traditionally lagged behind those sectors when it comes to technology adoption and productivity and just systemization as well. So the focus of modern methods of construction and what makes it really appropriate for traditional manufacturing companies and manufacturing companies with existing good practice is that the focus is changing the narrative from building on site in the rain to what manufacturers do, building parts precisely, then assembling them quickly on site. So all of those things that we value as manufacturers, which are listed below around standardization and modularization, so that it's assembled separate from the point of use, that we're capable, that we do what we say we're going to do, that it's repeatable, that we do it over and over again, and we do these things just in time. All of those things that become a standard and common mantra within manufacturing are more and more valued now in the realm of construction as well. So therein lies the opportunity. So this concept that we're looking to treat buildings more like products assembled from repeatable components rather than bespoke projects where the learning happens over and over again, and each project is a new problem to solve. It's about making it repeatable and standardized, as we all aspire to in best practice manufacturing. So again, all of this mindset should be very relevant and very well known to companies that currently work in automotive and aerospace and rail. And those are the things. So just these bullet points below if these sound relevant and appropriate to what you as manufacturers do on a daily basis, then you've got a head start really in being attractive in modern methods of construction in the marketplaces there. So all of the concepts of, are you a high volume production manufacturer? Do you understand the concepts of lean manufacturing and just in time and built-in quality, so things are right first time? Understanding where automation and robotics are appropriate to make the process more repeatable and more productive. Having good quality management systems in terms of identifying and prioritizing risk and putting good controls in place to manage that risk again, so that the process is capable and repeatable and right first time. All of the things again that we take for granted more and more in automotive markets. Having good design for manufacture and assembly and modular assembly as well, so that the benefits can be shared between the supplier and the customer as well, so that in terms of the cost that is taken out of the process and the time that is taken out of the process, there are benefits that can be shared for the client and the consumer. Precision engineers as well, companies operating as precision engineers at the moment and developing and manufacturing that type of component for their existing markets. Again, that is more and more appropriate in modern methods of construction as it becomes more high value, more modular, and the necessity to be repeatable and just in time. Understanding complex supply chains. For me, this is the big one. I think if anyone thinks within aerospace or automotive markets what customers are most concerned about, it's on time in full. It's products being there when you say they're going to be there, in the right quantity, correctly labeled, and right first time. So if it's valued in aerospace and automotive, it will be valued in other high volume, repeatable environments. And again, just opportunities for companies that work within composite manufacture and advanced materials. If there's competitive advantage in aerospace and automotive in doing these things, there will be competitive advantage in modern methods of construction going forward. So in terms of the challenges for companies looking to exploit new market opportunities in new markets, these tend to be a consistent list of challenges here. So proving technical capability within new markets when there's no history is a challenge. Scaling production efficiently in new markets from first proof of concept through running pilot plants through to running full production. How is that done efficiently so we don't get to a point where the costs become prohibitive? Building robust supply chains as well. We're talking more and more just-in-time environments here. So having that robust supply chain that we could trust becomes more and more critical. Winning customer confidence again in new markets, things that you may to a certain extent have taken for granted in your existing market. It becomes a whole new challenge when you're dealing with customers and contacts that you're meeting for the first time, and how do you build that trust? And then just finally, just developing the skills. I spoke before around the three elements that MTC focus on around the people, the technology, and the process. And in terms of those challenges there, we cover all of those three spheres, and MTC can support in all of those. Just to break it down a little bit, I've split this into sort of 6 headings of how MTC can accelerate and support companies in market penetration in construction. There is this concept of just de-risking and de-costing innovation, this concept that we provide a low risk sandpit in which sort of ideas and hypotheses can be tested, and there's support there in terms of prioritizing those tests and understanding how best to carry them out. There's also just the access to digital technologies, the concept of digital twinning, so the ideas and concepts can be tested at low cost and rapidly using digital technology to take some of the cost and the risk out of the process. MTC can also support in developing skills, so workforce upskilling, digital skills, skills around leadership, and skills just around developing future talent to cope with the demands of new markets. As I said before, one of the challenges of something like this is to go from concept to pilot to full scale manufacture, and managing the cost explosion of that, and how MTC can support you in managing that. Also through our contacts and our understanding of what best practice supply chain looks like, we can support you in terms of developing and building resilient supply chains and being able to demonstrate those resilient supply chains to potential customers. And finally, just through our contacts, and because MTC is a credible partner, just opening up those open routes to market and making introductions to not only potential customers but also suppliers as well, so that supply chain journey is sort of fully covered. Final words then. So the MTC is helping manufacturers within these markets to move from having the idea and identifying the opportunity to commercializing that and making a success of it as rapidly as possible by going through those steps of the proving, through the scaling, through to the being successful in new markets. Our focus is supporting you on faster market penetration and just really taking the risk out of it. Again, I go back to the twin things of the concept of an innovation sandpit, and also the digital twinning opportunity, so these things can be done offline. Just finally, that statement at the bottom, that MTC acts as a strategic growth partner for MMC manufacturers, combining the excellence, the digital innovation for commercial adoption and scalable growth. So hopefully that gives you some idea of how MTC can support companies looking to move into these markets. Also, the type of attribute that would be valued in these markets, and not only the attributes but some of the technical competencies and the manufacturing processes that would be appropriate in those markets as well. So thanks for listening.
Thank you very much, Nick, for this very insightful presentation, and thank you both for your presentations and insights. It's apparent that there are significant opportunities for businesses within modern construction, future construction, green industries, the wider green economy in the region, particularly for businesses with transferable manufacturing and engineering skills. So we'll move now into, again, you can see this QR code and the contact email. So if you want to learn more about the program, if you want to work with our experts and partners, please do send us your expression of interest and we'll get back to you. We'll move into the Q&A session. So if you have any questions, please do submit them into the chat box and we'll pick them up. Right, I think there was one question. I believe that was during Mike's presentation. Mike, are these standards applicable to renovated properties or just new properties? I believe that's how standards.
Yeah, so we don't have a equivalent of the future home standard for retrofit, but we do have EPC standards. EPC is the Energy Performance Certificate, and so, for instance, in the social housing sector, there is a requirement, to for all properties that are rented to be at least EPC by 2030. So that's driving some of that. There are also, as you can imagine, some controls within the planning and building control sectors of the current building regulations, which play a part in how properties are refurbished. There's a thing called the there's a sort of a certification scheme, if you like, particularly for heat pumps and that sort of stuff. It's a slightly fragmented picture compared to new build, but it does exist, yeah.
Perfect. Thank you, Mike. Let's pick up a few more questions. To whether you want, each of you want to answer that. Where do you see the greatest growth potential over the next 5 years for the modern and low carbon construction cluster? Offsite manufacturing, modular construction, digital construction, any other area?
Yeah, so I'll come in if I may. It's really interesting, isn't it? That we've had this dream of modular construction and everything for some period of time, and it hasn't come to fruition. In fairness, there's been significant business failures associated with it. So I'll go back to my point. I don't think it's about the fabric. I think the focus should be on not completely sort of changing the way we build, and that's particularly important for resilience as buildings need thermal mass and everything as our climate changes. But rather thinking about how we can deal with parts of the process offsite. So it might be integrating hot water systems and doing those sorts of processes so there's less done physically on site. But the biggest single change here, without a shadow of a doubt, is the way we heat and ventilate our homes. That's what's changing. Everyone wants to change the fabric, but that's not changing. That's essentially the same as it was. You can choose to do it in a different method of construction and modular, but it will be substitutional. And I think the West Midlands economy as well. We should be clear that we've got a lot of brick and block manufacturers and all those sorts of people in this economy already. Who are struggling for business because there isn't enough homes being built. So we've got to be careful of substitutional, and we've got to be careful of trying to impose something on the customer doesn't necessarily want. So that's why I was very clear that we should be customer driven, and the biggest single change is going to be in heating and ventilation area.
Perfect. Thank you, Mike.
Just to add to that,
yes,
and just to sort of endorse what Mike's saying there, it's kind of the first lean principle. Really, is sort of like listen to the voice of the customer, understand what they value, and then deliver that value in the most repeatable and productive way. And the companies that succeed will be the ones that follow that process, and the ones that go by the wayside are the ones that kind of think they know what the market would want.
Yeah. Perfect. Thank you, Nick. And again, to highlight that through the supply chain transition program, businesses will be able to understand these future customer needs, requirements in the markets, understand how they need to plan out for transforming their businesses and transitioning into this future construction, modern construction. Let's pick. We've run out a little bit of out of time, but let's pick one last question. For manufacturers supplying other sectors today, what capabilities and workforce skills are most transferable into modern and low carbon construction supply chains?
For me, and it goes back to what I said in my presentation, we're talking about high volume, complex supply chains that are being developed here, that are being proposed, and you only have to refer back to the experiences and the priorities of current high volume and complex supply chains. And what is valued more than anything is the ability to deliver on time, in full, with no exceptions, and to deliver right first time. So regardless of anything else, if you can succeed doing that, you will be at an advantage over companies that struggle with that. And if you have a history of doing it within your existing markets, then you have the processes in place.
Perfect. Thank you, Nick. Mike, anything from you?
Yeah, just to add, I mean, there's a bit of an urban myth that that the way we manufacture building products and everything now is somehow archaic or whatever. Actually, all those lean principles that Nick's referred to, and highly complex manufacturing processes, including robots and all that stuff, have been deployed for a long, long time in the manufacture of building materials and continue to do so. So it's quite a mature sector. So I think that people looking to enter it should look at what others are doing. And to be honest, it's not the highest margin sector. So you have to be lean to survive. Yeah, you have to work hard at it, and that's what's already happened. So I think there's plenty of good examples of companies that are in that space, and I think my parting message would be only enter a market if you can add value.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you. All right, I think it's about time to wrap up. So I would like to thank you both for sharing your expertise and insights today. For the businesses in the audience listening, the key message is that there are significant opportunities emerging across modern construction, modern methods of construction, low carbon, and the wider green economy. Many opportunities are accessible to SMEs with existing capabilities, engineering, fabrication, assembly, automation, digital technologies. So if you'd like support identifying where your business could fit within these supply chains, or if you're looking to diversify into any of these new sectors, we encourage you to engage with our supply chain transition program. Our team can help you understand better the market opportunities, identify capability gaps, and explore pathways into new supply chains and sectors. So thank you everyone for joining us today. We hope you found the session informative and valuable. As mentioned, the webinar recording will be shared with all attendees following the event, along with any relevant presentation material, slides, and details about how to access support through the supply chain transition program. A huge thank you once again to Mike Leonard and Nick Brandwood for sharing your expertise and insights with us today. Thank you all for attending, and we look forward to welcoming you to a future supply chain transition webinar or event. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Bye-bye.